So they were parts A and B of a tune called Fire on the Mountain, and this is going to be a little lesson teaching how to play that. The only thing I've really taught on this channel in terms of like an actual specific tune is Cripple Creek, and this tune is a massive step up from Cripple Creek. Loads of drop thumb stuff, loads of hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff. We're up and down the neck, and it's like nearly constant eighth notes, so it's quite different. Oh, and it's also starts in the open position, it goes up to this fret 5 position. So for people who have not really been playing banjo long, it is quite challenging. I learned this ages ago, and it was probably the first kind of challenging tune I learned. And although it is hard, that doesn't make, it shouldn't make us any less inclined to want to learn it. In fact, it should make us more inclined to want to learn it, because as a banjo player, you know, you're going to want to keep learning and progressing as a player, and this is a great starting point into kind of more advanced tunes that are a little bit more complicated. Not that in the grand scheme of things it's not super hard, but it will certainly be harder than Cripple Creek. Maybe that's the only tune you've learned so far, or maybe you've learned like a few like sing-along things, or you've, I don't know, doing dumb ditties and singing along or something like that. It's quite melodic, as I said, up and down the neck, up and down the strings, so it might be quite a big change from what you're doing, and it might be like a good next step in your development as a banjo player. There's part A and part B. When I did it there, I just played part A twice, and then I played part B twice. That's good enough, really. I mean, once you've learned it, you just repeat it. So firstly, if you've not done any drop thumb at all, then this will be a bit of a challenge. I would recommend practicing drop thumb in isolation, so literally just a drop thumb exercise. I may have done a video of this already on my channel, maybe I haven't, I'll check, and if not, I'll put one out soon. But at the end of the day, just doing an exercise in isolation is completely pointless. It's not completely pointless, it's near pointless if you're just doing that and nothing else. You need to take it to the next step, which is incorporating it into a tune, which is what we're doing here, right? So I'm kind of doing this with the assumption that you've done a bit of drop thumb. But what you want to do with a tune like this, more of a beginner you are, the more, I would recommend this for anyone at any level, but the more necessary it will be for beginners. What we're going to do is just break it down like phrase at a time. So when I'm learning a tune, well, I'll tell you what, when I learn a tune, I'll just get, you know, I might, if I transcribe it or whatever, I'll tab it up, and then it'll all be there, and then I might just play it through like once or twice, but that's not really me memorizing anything, and it might not even be me getting every single phrase exactly right. I'll just go through the general thing once or twice, or more than that, just to get a feel for the entire piece, and then I might try to start learning it. And that happens kind of phrase by phrase. It depends how complicated it is. Some tunes are quite simple and they're just variations on what I've already learned, in which case I'll digest it quite quickly. But I'll learn it phrase by phrase and string it all together. And then maybe, again, if it's a complicated tune, I might have to really zoom into like one phrase and just go, ooh, I need to play that one loads. So that might happen for you with this. Show the tab somewhere on screen as I'm playing these phrase by phrase, and then we'll go through them. And I'll kind of point out any bits that you might want to pay particular attention to as we go along, right? So I got the tab in front of me here as well, because this is one of those things I've played so many times that as soon as I start slowing it down, I kind of forget where it is and my muscle memory fails me. So I'm gonna have to move the camera down and you'll see less of my pretty face, which is a great shame obviously, but you kind of need to see both left hand and right hand. So I'm gonna move the camera down a bit. See you in a sec. Great, that's good enough. You can see everything here. So this tune starts on the 1 beat. We're not going to worry too much about like bar length or anything. The bars are technically 2/4. 2/4 is basically 4/4. The feel of it is slightly different if you're going to play it together with someone, but we don't really care for this. We're just trying to get the tune down right. We start on beat 1, and we start by hitting the open D string. Now, again, I'm not going to go into detail about drop thumb in this tune, but I'm just going to say we don't need to yet, actually, not yet, but what I do here is that my thumb is landing on the B string, because it's the first pluck that that thumb will make is on the B string. It doesn't happen immediately, but I'm just kind of preparing in advance. So we hit that high D string like that, and then we hammer onto the 2nd fret. So if you've not done many hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff like that, do this a bunch. We need to get it like rhythmically even, so we don't want this. And we also don't want, it needs to be one and, one and, one and. Honestly, worth practicing that loads and loads and loads if you're not used to doing that yet. Really important that as the hammer-on happens, this thumb comes up at the same time. Watch. I'm not plucking, but the thumb and my arm is coming up because it's ready to go back down again. Honestly, just repeat this a bunch if you've not done many hammer-ons or pull-offs, right, or any drop thumb stuff, because you know, the more elements we add into something, the more complicated it gets, and the more important it is to isolate it, right? So we're doing this. That's just the first two notes of the tune. The next two notes, we're going to hit the open D string again, and then pluck the first fret of the B string. So the first four notes, this is the first entire bar. But I made a bit of a mistake there. I didn't repeat it properly. I should just be repeating it without pause. So if you're gonna, you should do this. You should repeat this bar over and over again to get used to it. Rhythmically even, dynamically even as possible. So you don't want to be hitting some notes really hard and some really soft. We just want this, right? One and two and one and two and one and two and you'll notice every time my thumb comes up. Sorry. The thumb comes up and the hand goes down and up. This is what I'm trying to say, right? This is all it does, right? So if you put the sound off and you need to watch my right hand there, you just see this. It just goes down, up, down, up, down, up. There's no point at which it lingers. There's no point at which I pluck down, anything like that. This is super important, right? So whether I'm plucking or not, it comes up. If I'm plucking, I just happen to pluck. If not, it comes up anyway. I know I'm going really slow with this, but it'll be really helpful. As I said before, being rhythmically even it was important for any tune, but as you start progressing and adding in drop thumb and hammer-ons and pull-offs, it becomes more important to pay attention to this because it won't come naturally. You'll probably start swinging it and everything and do this kind of... By the way, you can play this tune swung, but we want to play it straight first, so everything really even. And then once we're in control of what we're playing, then we can swing it. Then we can do whatever the hell we want. If you want to do a 6/8 or a 7/8 version of this tune, have at it, right? But it's all about being in control of what we're playing. So, big digression there, I know. Let's do this first bar again, right? Watch each hand, and if you have to slow me down, right? So, open D string, hammer onto the second, open D string, pluck the first fret of the B string. That's what we got. Don't worry too much about muting right now. If notes kind of bleed into each other, as I did there, I was being a bit sloppy. I wasn't there. The notes are kind of overlapping. Don't worry about that right now. That's kind of a more advanced thing. Once you get the tune down, you can start worrying about muting certain strings or whatnot, but we don't need to worry about that right now. So, first 4 notes, right? There's a lot of notes left. Let's go through it bit by bit. The next bar, we hit the open B string, and then we pluck the open G. So it's that. Now, just like I asked you to repeat that first bar over and over again, do the same with this. You can see why this is a great tune to practice drop thumb, right? Because we do loads of drop thumb. In fact, the thumb is barely on the G string in this tune, that high G string, not on it much at all. And then the next 2 notes in this bar, we hit the open B string again. And here, right, technically the thumb doesn't need to land. It's kind of what I was kind of poorly describing earlier. The thumb doesn't need to land here, but because it's been dropping anyway, I will just land it here rather than put it here. So if yours is naturally gravitating towards your G, for this phrase it's not a big deal if you did this. But because it's going to be dropping elsewhere and it's dropped before, I do this. I find it feels easier to me. So this bar, so that's B, G, B, hammer onto the first. B, G, B, hammer, B, G, B, hammer. And again, just get this bar and repeat it a bunch, right? Aim for rhythmically even, dynamically even. So we don't want... or where I'm really accentuating the downstroke so you can barely hear the pluck and the hammer on. We don't want that. We want nice and even. Again, you're not going to get it perfectly even straight away. It's just not going to happen. That just comes with practice and repetition. This is the kind of tune, I'll say it now, and I don't say this to discourage people, right? Because people can find this discouraging, but the truth of the matter is it can take you like a year or 2 to get this down to where it might sound like quite good. Really depends how much you practice and, you know, whether you're focusing on other things at the same time. But don't be discouraged if it takes ages. If you've never played much banjo at all, and this is the first kind of drop thumb, hammer-on stuff that you're doing, it could take you ages. Probably won't take you as long to learn it as it's taken me to make this video, but it'll take you a while, and that's perfectly fine. So we've got the first 2 bars down. Oh, you God, Jacob, you take ages, right? And this is the first 2 bars. That's it, right? But really, we'd get them and we would repeat them. And then you'd get faster over time. Don't try to get too fast too quickly. Take your time with it, right? When you're repeating a phrase, try to do it so it's like a whole beat or whole bar or something like that. You don't want to be repeating like awkward phrases that don't really loop properly. You probably won't do that, so don't worry too much about it if you didn't understand what I meant. We'll look at the next bar now, right? And this next bar has no hammer-ons, no pull-offs, no fretting at all, right? It's just pure open string drop thumb stuff. So high D again, pluck the B, then high D, and pluck this high G. By the way, I didn't really notice I did this, or I didn't think much about it until I was talking to one of my students the other day. I never name the strings like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's very helpful. Weirdly, I don't know why. I just don't prefer not to. So I call them high D, B string. We've only got 1 B string. Middle G, low D, high G. I prefer to name the strings. Maybe it's because I'm teaching people a lot, and I find it easier to do this, but this is just my default. I name the strings, and the low D is the lowest pitch D, etc. I don't number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always get it wrong, but I don't know what the typical numbering is. So if you don't like the way I'm naming them, I'm sorry, but I do think it is better for most people who are learning. Anyway, again, always with the asides, always with the little tangents, Jacob, Jesus. Here we go. We have 3 bars in, right? And there's loads of drop thumb stuff so far, plenty of hammer-ons. So this is what we've got so far. Hopefully this tab's coming on screen and it's helping you out. The tab will also be in the description, by the way, of this video. So just click on, it'll take you to Sound Slice. It's not behind a paywall or anything like that. And I've labeled how to play it with M, H, T, etc. So M means middle finger. That means basically a downstroke. You might not use your middle finger. That's perfectly fine. T means thumb pluck. H is a hammer-on. And P is a pull-off. That's all the options in this tune, right? So, you know, if this video hasn't helped you out perfectly, or maybe it's been completely useless, at least the tab is there, and just work through it yourself, and you'll get it. Like I got it, and I'm a garden variety idiot, to be quite frank. I don't even know where I first learned this. I found it somewhere online years and years ago, and I'm not even sure if I've changed it through the years. Anyway, so we've got the first 3 bars. We will get faster as we go along, right? So, open D string, hammer on to the second. Again, really important with this tune, right? Every downstroke is preceded by up, whether you pluck or not. So don't ever have this thumb lingering. Don't do this. Like that. I can't really do that, but some people will do this. I'm only telling you not to do it because some people do this, where there's like, because the thumb doesn't need to come off because it's not plucking, the thumb will just stay, but then it doesn't give you room to do a proper downstroke again. Thumb on, thumb off, down, up, down, up. Thumb should always land, right? I've got loads of videos on these kind of general principles, but it's really important. And this tune doesn't need to be played super fast, but it wants to be played at a bit of a pace. I'd say at least as fast as I played it at the start, right? So you're just not going to get to those kind of speeds unless you get the technique correct. Anyway, sorry, with 3 bars in, right? So this is what we've got so far. And then ideally, again, we'd repeat it without a pause at the end. So don't pause and wait at the end. We want this. Right? Again, I'm not worried about muting. Sometimes these notes all ringing into each other. It's not really important right now. Again, I know I keep saying this, I'm going really slowly, but you should go really slowly as well. Take your time, you're in no rush, right? These things are tricky, they're hard. Playing an instrument is really difficult. We don't do it naturally, you know? It's not what we evolved to do, so just take your time, be patient with yourself. The next bar, we're still in section A. Luckily, once we've done section A, we just repeat section A again. I mean, that's how the tune is played, and then we'll go to section B, which does get a little bit more tricky. So, the next bar is actually is very similar to the first one. It's a relatively repetitive feeling tune. No, it's a bit different, so I misspoke slightly there. So this is a 2nd fret of the high D string, pull off. And remember, when you're doing that pull off, this hand needs to come up, right? Because it's going to come back down in a second. And then we hit the open B string, and then you hammer onto the first. Get this bar and repeat it. So what I don't want to see you doing is this. You could do that and it wouldn't be the end of the world, right? But downstroke, downstroke, down, hammer, sorry, down, pull off, down, hammer. Don't go down, pull off, and then pluck, hammer. We don't want a lingering thumb. It needs to come up and down. Trust me, it's really important to get that right, yeah? Do that bar on repeat as ever, right? Again, technically the thumb doesn't need to be dropping anywhere here. You could do this. And that would work perfectly fine, but because my thumb in this tune is drop thumb is so much, that's my default. It's going to be staying really close to the finger on like an adjacent string, because it just makes this tune a bit easier. You might find that a tricky habit to develop, again, if you've never done any drop thumb, but again, it's not the most important habit to develop. Is it even better to do it that way? I'm not even sure if that's optimal, but it's just what I'm doing by default. I don't know. I'm the one with the lesson, right? So there's a good chance I'm better than you. I'm not saying that to be arrogant, but I don't know. Maybe there's a reason behind it. Having said that, if there's someone else offering this, doing a little video lesson of this tune, and they're better than me, maybe go by their standards, right? I don't know. We'll see. And then the next bar, it really is just the first bar again. This is where the repetitive nature of the tune comes in, right? It's just the first bar again. So we've got that down, right? So far we've got 6 bars. This entire first bit is, sorry, no, we've got 5 bars. We've got 5 bars. This entire first A section is 8 bars overall. So really, it's kind of call and response. The first half of part A is then responded to in the second half of part A. That's why it kind of starts with the same bar each time, because it's call and response kind of. Good. Again, take those 5 bars. I'm not going to do it. We can kind of hurry up a little bit as we go along. We're building the momentum here. Take those 5 bars and just repeat them a bunch. If you find one bit particularly problematic, let's say bars 3 and 4, just like take them and repeat them. Like that. Maybe those are the 2 bars. It could be any of the other bars, 3 bars, or even just 2 notes, right? Just repeat them and repeat them until you get them. You might find this tedious, but trust me, everyone who plays an instrument, even to like a reasonably high standard, has put the hours in that look exactly like this. Like, it's so easy to think that somebody else out there who's better than you is just like naturally just, they make it look so natural, right? The only reason it looks natural to them is because they've done it a million times. And for me, I remember just, this is one of the first like kind of more complicated tunes I learned. I played it loads and loads and loads and loads and loads, over and over and over again. Yeah, just the way it goes. All my students will say like they have like usually long-suffering partners who have heard Cripple Creek a million times, and that's just the nature of playing any instrument. So it really does take that level of like tedious repetition. But then once you get it, it sounds great and it feels really good. But trust me, just really worth spending time doing this. So we're on to bar 6 of part A. A bit more drop thumb here, right? So we hit the open B, pluck the G, 2nd fret G, sorry. So open B, 2nd fret G, and then we hit the open G, open high G. So we got this. B, 2nd fret G, G, high G, B, 2nd fret G, G, high D. Again, tab should be on the screen, just go by that. And then we hit the 2nd fret of the G string, and then pull off. And again, watch how my thumb, when I'm pulling off, comes up, because it's going to come back down again and hit the low D string on the 4th fret. And then I pluck the high G. So these 2 bars, this is bars 6 and 7. Now Now these phrases, if I just play them on repeat in isolation, they don't really sound like cogent, kind of coherent musical phrases because they're just in the middle of a section. That will sometimes happen when you've isolated a phrase. It might not sound very musical at all, but sometimes you're just trying to get the mechanics of it down. So if those are the bars you need to repeat, just get the mechanics of it down. As long as you've got it in time, you're fine. If it doesn't sound particularly melodic, that's fine. So yeah, lots of drop thumb in this one, right? So again, open B strings, pluck the second fret of the G, open G string, pluck the high G, then second fret G string, pull off to the open, fourth fret of the low D string, pluck the high G. And then the final bar of this A section is, it's a dumb ditty, right? So we hit the open G and this is the first note in this entire first section, section A, that is actually not an eighth note. It's a half note. No, it's not. It's a quarter note. It's a quarter note. We hold it for like a whole beat. So it's not, everything else is like da 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 da, 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? This though is 1 and, it holds for that entire beat. And it's a dumb ditty. So hit open G string. And in the tab, I can see here, I've just said the top 3 strings, which are the G, middle G, B string, high D. But it doesn't matter. I don't know why I tabbed it in like that specifically. Just hit all the strings. So just do a dumb ditty, right? That's how we finish part A. So if I go through part A slowly, right? That's it. Yeah, just take your time, go through it bit by bit, you'll get it, then you'll get the whole thing, and then just repeat part A over and over and over again. Cool, you do not need to be aiming to be playing this super fast straight away, right? Just take your time. Now, part B of this tune. We don't need to get into the music theory of it, but what we're doing is like modulating. It changes key from G up to C. And this bit is a bit trickier because there's so much more fret. We don't have the open strings to rely on, so we got a lot more. But within that difficulty, right, is the value of learning this. Because if you never practicing anything like this means you'll never be able to play anything like this. And you do want to be able to play something like this. This is not the most complicated thing in the world. It's just a bit trickier than maybe what you've learned so far. And it's a great little stepping stone into things that are a bit more complicated. So all of my students, well, the ones who learn this, they do hate this for like a good year or two or longer, I don't know. They don't like it because it's tricky, it's hard, and it can feel off-putting. But again, everyone who learns an instrument has these phases where they just hit something which is really hard, and maybe they have the attitude of like, I can't do this, and obviously they can't do it because they've never done it before. That's just how this works. So apologies if I go on a bit, but it is worth keeping in mind, like, you're going to just come across these things that are hard and you can't yet do, and you're only going to be able to learn how to do them by doing them, and it's super valuable to get this down. So having said all that, here's part B. Maybe you don't find it that hard, but we'll go through it bit by bit. Similar kind of like general right hand technique of what is going on. This time we hit the, worth pointing out, here you can keep this hand position, what I call like the kind of folk or traditional hand position, where the thumb is around the neck like this. As long as my palm isn't on the, don't do that. I got a video on this, don't do that please, just like this. This is perfectly fine. You can get away with this. I would say for this bit, we want to get into what I call, and most people call, it's not my invention, right? The classical hand position with the thumb behind the neck like this, and with this. This just means we can reach a lot. We don't need to reach too far with this, but it just gives them more economy of motion, range of motion, all this kind of stuff. So this position, again, this is another thing that makes it tricky because you have to learn to be in this position. Anyway, that's the first bar, right? Hit the 5th fret of the D string, then hammer onto the 7th. But again, sorry I didn't do that. This hand needs to come up at the same time as the hammer on happens. Repeat it a bunch if you have to. I'm not being careful with muting here. I could be, but you don't have to be. It takes a certain hand angle to make sure that the notes aren't ringing out. Not super important. Banjo is not the kind of instrument most people need to worry too much about muting, because The notes all sound pretty good. If you accidentally hit the wrong thing, right, it's fine. So this is what we got, right? So yeah, sorry, I got ahead there. You could just do that and repeat, get used to this feeling of like this hand in this position and this thumb going down, up, down, up, down, up. 5th fret D, hammer on, and then 5th fret D again, and you pluck the 6th fret of the B string. Do that and repeat as much as you have to do it to get it even. We don't want this, right? Or anything even more rhythmically inconsistent. I hear a lot of this in my lessons sometimes. Everything is 1 and 2 and. Once you have it down, you can do whatever the hell you want with the rhythm, as long as you're in control. The reason we learn how to play an instrument is to be in control of the instrument. Nothing else matters. This is how this tune is played. This is how I play this tune, right? This is how I learned it. Someone else out there will play it slightly different. You can do it whatever you want with it, as long as you're in control of what you're doing. That's all that matters, right? That's literally it. But it is valuable to take our time and be really pedantic about it and learn it properly. Not that this is properly, but this gives you, learning it in a very specific way gives you control over what you're playing. So just trust me for now, really be really pedantic and particular with yourself. This is it. And I'm doing a pause there, but once you get it right, you just want to repeat it. That's probably too fast for people starting off, but take your time with it. Repeat it without a pause. That's important. I've said it many times throughout this lesson, but when you're doing a loop, you don't want like an unnatural pause, because you're trying to eventually incorporate it into the entire tune, and tunes don't do that. They don't do a bar, stop, bar, stop. You want to get used to this idea of like the rhythm, the beat just continues. Anyway, here's the first bar of part B. And then we go to the second bar, which is this. So hit the 5th fret of the B string, and that holds for a beat, so that's another quarter note. And then 5th fret of the G string, and then a pluck on the high G string, so it sounds like this. And then this people can find this tricky going from the 5th fret to the 5th fret. You got two options, which is like play it and then move your whole fingertip down to the next string. I don't do that. What do I do? When I'm on this, it kind of depends on the transition from the bar before, right? I'm on like my finger pad, like the entire last finger pad, right? My fingers are all purple because I made a cherry pie and they've gone weird. Started off red and gone weird, like a weird purple. They look filthy, but it's just cherries. I start on like the pad of my finger and I kind of roll over onto my tip here. Oh, that was sloppy. You can see that? That's probably the easiest way to do it. This is a tricky part of the tune. Everyone stumbles on this bit. Don't be too perfectionistic about it. Just get the general mechanics around. And if you're clipping one of the notes because you have to move from one, that's not the biggest deal. You can iron it out eventually, right? But just do it on repeat until you get it right. And then the next bar is easy. Just D string, open D string, open B string. And each one of these is a quarter note. So it's not 1 and 2 and or anything like that. It's 1, 2. So the bar immediately before this was this. And then it's that. See, I kind of got clipped there because I kind of moved prematurely and I got this kind of... Again, you can do that if that's the phrasing you prefer, but it's about being in control. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So this first few bars of part B, 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, just do it and repeat as ever, right? And then the next one, this is where things get a bit tricky because we've got loads of hammer-ons and stuff across strings. That's the next two bars. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Once you get this to speed, this is probably the trickiest bit because it just takes a while to get this right. And again, we really need to be in this hand position. 5th fret D string, hammer on. 5th fret B string, hammer on. Sorry, it's hammer on to the 7th there. 5, hammer on to the 7th. 5, hammer on to the 6th. 5, hammer onto the 7, then hit the 5 again and pluck the 6th fret of the B string again. So if I go through it bit by bit, 5, hammer, 5, hammer, 5, hammer, 5, pluck the 6th. 5, 7, 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 6. Again, this is all downstrokes as I'm going down the strings, or up the strings, I guess. And there's only one pluck. Having said, like, you know, in spite of that, like, even though I don't need to be drop thumbing because my thumb's not doing anything until the final 2 notes, it follows it. I don't do this. Partly because I prefer the muting. That's partly why I do it. You don't have to worry about that, as I said before, but it just feels easier to me to keep my fingers here rather than have it landing on the G constantly. Because it's going to have to drop them to here anyway, so my thumb is just following the fingers. I said earlier I wasn't sure, but I do think that's a good habit. I think you should probably do that for this tune, and it will help you immensely for future tunes that you learn. So this tune really will get your hammer on your pull-offs better if you've not done much of them. Like, it'll get them rhythmically even and a bit more in control. And it will also get the drop thumb consistent and in control. Really 2 important things: hammer-ons and pull-offs, even, and your drop thumb. It'll really help with that. Good. So we've only got 3 bars left now, right? I got that a bit sloppy, but it's this. So now it's 5th fret B string, pluck the 7th fret of the G string, then you hit the 5th fret of the G string, and then you pluck the high G string. So it's this. Just do it on repeat as much as you have to. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, right? 5, pluck the 7, hit the 5th fret of the B string, sorry, G string, and then pluck the high G string. Repeat as much as you need to, right? And then you hit the open D string, pluck the 5th fret of the G string. This is the 7th bar, part B. Get used to that a bit. And then hit the open B string, high G string. So this bar with the previous bar. See that? I'm just taking it, looping it in isolation, rhythmically even, in control, until it feels a bit more confident. Good. Now the final bar. The final bar is not too hard. It's kind of a repetition of the final bar, part A. So it's this. And this requires like barring our fingers. We just kind of bar our finger across the 5th fret, which might be new to you. So we hit the 5th fret of the G string, and that's for a quarter note. So 5th fret G string, then all the 5th frets, all the strings on the 5th fret, and then we pluck the high G. So if I add in the last bar, so that's that 5th fret for half a note, a quarter of a note, sorry I keep saying that wrong. And then hit, sorry I hit that low D string open, I shouldn't have done that, but just a dumb ditty again. So sometimes I've done this like unconsciously, something I've done unconsciously, which I do encourage you to do. If you're looking at one bar, and that's the one you're drilling, do it a bunch until you feel more confident with that, and then maybe add the bar immediately before it, work on that so you get the transition into it, and then the bar immediately after it, because then you got the transition into it and out of it, and then do that and repeat. You'll work out exactly how you need to navigate the tune, but it really is just down to focusing on the mechanics first, then the rhythm, get the rhythm right. We want to be in time, that's more important than anything else. If you hit a slightly wrong note or hit the wrong string, not the end of the world. Getting the rhythm wrong is, well, that's also not the end of the world, but it's worse. Getting the mechanics right is more important. And then just incorporating specific phrases into the tune, but isolating phrases is super important. So now we have the whole tune, right? It's part A, B, it's part A twice, and it's part B twice. And then it just repeats that a bunch. It does actually, I think at the start of the lesson I ended it just on this is a C chord, by the way. I think I ended it there, but really it should go back to, it ends on, because the song is in G, it ends on G. So you would just repeat part A twice. Oh god, it's playing like an Arabic version there. Ooh. We should do that. That would be a great version of it. And it would be really easy actually, but yeah, no, sorry. And then again, I pause there, but you shouldn't really, but then it would be again. And then it goes to part B. That's once. Oh god. That was twice. And then it would repeat like that. This tune tends not to be played super long, but you could just repeat it as many times as you want to get it down right. But 2 of part A, 2 of part B on repeat. Hopefully that's been clear. You might not know this tune already. Sorry, I'll move this up now. I don't need to show you me playing the banjo. You might not know this tune very well. I didn't know it very well when I first learned it. I just learned random tunes that I found online or saw someone play on YouTube or whatever. I think this tune was used in Deliverance. I'm pretty sure it was. That's why I'm sure I've heard it there. Although I think it's in a different key from what I remember. But it's the same tune. They play it quite fast. I'll edit in a little clip of it. Ooh, here it is. Ooh. Oh, very nice. Yeah, it's quite fast. You don't need to. I would say that's like a top end tempo that you would ever want to get it to. It's quite fast. It's played in 3-finger style. Maybe it's a little bit harder to play it at that speed. Clawhammer. So we're not necessarily aiming for that speed, but just good to know. That's how sometimes it's played. It's a nice wee tune. I say it's complicated in many ways. The rhythm is relatively simple. It's more the speed of it and just getting everything even that is complicated. There's no real like dynamics or phrasing complications with this tune. You just hit the notes, and as long as you're getting everything quite even, it doesn't matter. There's no real particular kind of rhythmic groove that you need to keep in mind. So although it is the next step in like difficulty, if you've only been playing a little while, it's still not super hard. You will be able to get it. I would say everyone can learn how to play this. And I know it sounds contradictory to say, oh, it's not that hard, but as I said earlier, it could take a year or two to get it down well. That is just the nature of music. That's all tunes. Every piece of music you're ever going to learn. In fact, what I would say is this. I'm going on a bit here, but it's useful to know, and I say this to my students, right? If it took, let's say it took me a year to learn this tune. I can't remember, it was ages ago. It took me a year to learn this tune. But the way, once I've learned it, I've not finished learning this tune. The way I play it now, and this is like, I don't know, 15, 16 years later. I had to check the year there on my computer. It's 2025. 15, 16 years later, right? The way I play it now, 15 years later, is totally different to how I played it after a year. And I play it better now than I did then. I probably don't play it as well as I did a few years ago because I played it much more. And I remember playing it like a few open mics or something like that. So I had it down quite well. I could play it quite fast. It would take me like a little while to practice to get up to that speed, but it's just the nature of it, right? As you progress, you play the same things that you can already play it, but you've not played it as well as you could play it. You could keep working on it. So it shouldn't be crazy. People can find it discouraging. And that's the only reason I'm going on so long. People can find it discouraging that it can take so long to learn. What I'm saying is not that difficult of a tune. But if you're a beginner, it's just the natural speed at which you learn things. Now I can learn a much, much more complicated tune like quite quickly. But even then, it could take me ages to get it to the point where I'm like, I'm really happy with that. I really think that sounds as good as it's, or as close to as good as I'm going to get it, So yeah, just, take your time with it. It's a good one to learn. You will find it a bit tricky, but it's not that tricky. Like, you will be able to learn it. And remember, it being difficult is part of the point of learning it. So don't find that discouraging. Anyway, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that's a good next step forward for people's playing. Here you're going to be practicing hammer-ons, pull-offs, loads of drop thumb stuff, rhythmic evenness and rhythmic control, dynamic control. I think it'll sound good once you get it down. I will see you around.